You are in the place to be seen. We are back in Shedding Light on Ghosts, and I am again joined with a guest. We have the magnificent William from TikTok who has joined us to talk about one of his favorite shows that happens to be my favorite show, and that's why we're doing Ghosts Shedding Light on To Be Seen. William, welcome to To Be Seen. Of course, you know I'm Joe Dove. William, tell us a little bit about yourself and how are things?
Well, thank you for having me. And I do love ghosts. Um, I just recently retired for medical reasons, which we'll talk about a little bit because it had a little connection to ghosts.
Oh, excellent.
Um, I worked for the state of Oregon at the lottery and in the security department where I investigated fraud. I did that for about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was in the Navy. And so I moved around a little bit and settled in Oregon. That's where my family ended up at. So I said, why not? Never been there. And glad I'm here. It's a beautiful state.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're there. We're glad you're safe.
Hmm.
You're glad you're managed to get through all of the adventures and tours, so to speak, that you've done in the military with unscathed.
Yeah.
We're grateful for that and
Thank
your
you.
time here on Ghost. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna get into the Alexander Hamilton and the Ruffle Kerfuffle. That's almost a mouthful. I was like practicing it in the car as I was driving
I
back from
know.
dropping my kids. I was like Ruffle Kerfuffle, Ruffle.
Yeah. Last night I was watching it again and I was trying to do that myself.
Yeah, Ruffle
It's a little tongue twister.
Kerfuffle.
Mhm.
This one is when Jay becomes obsessed with the success of a fellow chef. Even that's a tongue twister. Isaac
Mhm.
serves up a cautionary tale of his own rivalry with Alexander Hamilton. Elias Woodstone returns from hell with a limited time offer for the ghosts.
Mhm.
All right, let's get into it. First glance. All right, once he came back, I was like, oh, this is gonna be
Yeah.
this is gonna be an epic one. But yeah, let us know your first thoughts on this episode.
Um, I liked it a lot. Many times, not all the time, when the episodes air. Sometimes I have a different view first time watching it versus watching it a few times because I end up watching every episode multiple times.
Yeah.
But I like that one right off the bat. Um, it was great finally to find out why there's such a rivalry between Isaac and Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
Most Isaac's part.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we did get left one unanswered question though. Um, we know why Isaac's had a problem with Hamilton. Why did Hamilton have a problem with Isaac?
Yeah. I caught that too because it seemed like especially at the end when he closes the
Yeah,
door, and I was like, oh, wait
that
a minute.
surprised me. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, there's something more here, and I hope we get
Yes.
into that. But I was shocked to know that Nat Faxton was Alexander Hamilton.
Mhm.
He I actually really like this actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. Did you ever watch The Descendants or Club Dread? I think he might be part of Broken Lizard, but I know he's in a lot of Broken Lizard properties. He
No.
was
Mm-mm.
he was in Tacoma FD, which you can
Mm-mm.
check out on Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good actor. He's funny
Yeah.
and a good comedic actor himself. So I was surprised to see him and pleasantly. And I feel like Isaac had a little bit of a thing for him.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That can manifest
Yeah,
into angry
exactly. Because you don't get the way you
anger.
want it. You start to like
Yeah.
bear bad will towards
Yeah.
the person you're
Well,
looking
I
for.
don't know if you know, but I'm gay myself. And so I have fallen for straight guys before.
Oh, really?
Especially if they're friends,
Ugh,
sometimes.
and that happens.
Because if
Yeah.
you get an emotional connection, sometimes that happens on my end, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, so there's precedence for it then. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've worked in fashion for the last, oh my God, 20 years.
Is there
So,
anybody gay there?
yeah. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I love it because
Yeah.
I feel like the experience is warm and welcoming.
Mhm.
And, I don't I'm one of those people that just embraces everybody as an ally, as they
Nice.
say. I believe that's the term
Right.
for it. And there's a great story about one of the guys at my job who had a thing for me that I didn't know because I'm like the fat guys. There's nothing for me. That doesn't happen.
Oh,
And then
there's a type for everybody.
apparently, yeah, apparently, I ended up getting married to a woman later on, and it was like, oh, really? You still you sure? You know what I mean? So, but you would think I have this amazing confidence. I don't. But yeah, and that I thought that was a pretty funny story. But luckily, he
Yeah.
didn't have ill will towards me. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, because he was a director and I was, coordinator. So
Oh,
that would have
yeah,
been rough. You
that'd
know
be
what
a
I
little
mean?
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but he and I were cool, thick as thieves. And then I
Nice.
ended up befriending one of the VPs. I miss that guy. He's actually on your side of the states,
Mhm.
and was my movie buddy because his partner didn't like going to the movies, and mine doesn't like going to the
Mm.
movies. So,
I'm a movie fanatic.
oh man, if only you're here.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So there was also some surprise names that got dropped in this episode, like John Jay, who I'm thinking, wait, John Jay, the college.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the same John Jay.
would you remember in Halloween 3, I think it was when Carol died?
Hmm.
Um, Pete was standing on the stairwell and Isaac went up there and said, "You're really being a John Jay."
Yeah.
He was most shy.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, 'cause that's the
Mm,
thing about the show. Because like, one of the things that I noticed because my mom was sick and I was
mhm,
playing the show, she never heard of Ghost, and she was like, "I know you're doing that podcast about Ghost, but I never watched." It's like, "I got you the app so you could watch it so that you could understand what I'm talking about." So it's like,
yeah,
put it for her. And I rewatched the first episode because she was, coming in and out of consciousness, during her illness,
right.
and Pete talks about his fight with Carol over the donut holes.
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh," 'cause having after already seen, I'm like, "Oh shit, he just that's how she died." Like the way they're writing
Mhm.
this is so
Yeah.
like these little throwaway lines are so connected
Mhm.
into big plot
Yeah. Yeah,
moments.
they are very well, not I was gonna say meticulous, but I find little issues here and there with continuity, but
Mhm.
not everyone watches it 1,000 times like I do.
Right.
I
That's the
kind of
mhm,
was gonna say is that I kind of because it would frustrate me at first, but then I start thinking about looking back at the TV show Bewitched, which I loved,
mm,
and that show had zero continuity.
right.
And so it's like just go with it,
Yeah.
enjoy it. It's a comedy. It's not a documentary in
Right.
real life. Yeah,
Right. But the funny thing about this is that it probably has one of the best rewatchability of sitcoms that's out
absolutely.
today.
Yes, it's
Am
going
I
to
alone in
transfer later on.
yeah. Yeah, because I've gone back and I've watched certain episodes, like "No Todd, no Pod," or when when Nancy
Yes,
first said,
yeah,
"Just a basement ghost."
yes.
Like, some of these lines, these one-liners that just seem to be
Yeah.
throwaway, just so catchy and
I
and
can see
meaningful.
it. I don't know how syndication works nowadays, but I think it's still hanging on there.
Mhm,
But I remember as a kid, in the 70s, the mid to late 70s, I remember watching shows from the 60s, and it kind of reminds me of what's going to be for Ghosts in another 10 years or
mhm,
more. Because when it's got the genre, like a ghost or a witch
mhm.
or aliens, they seem to have a longer life in syndication, and younger people will pick up on it who were either not born or too young to watch it when it was originally run, and that's how I kind of came to watch or like a lot of series from the 60s.
Nice. Yes, for me, it was similar. I'm
Mhm,
in the '80s growing up and
mhm.
watching '70s shows like Good
Right.
Times and things like that, and I
Mhm.
absolutely love Good Times and Mork and
Yeah.
Mindy. Well, Mork and Mindy was in the '80s, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of great shows.
Yeah.
Kojak.
I remember that. I
Yeah.
was fortunate because I was born in 65.
Okay.
So I was able to be a kid in the 70s and a
Oh.
teenager in the 80s.
Oh, man.
So
So
I
you
got to enjoy both of those. And I
yeah.
remember, a lot of things from the 70s as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good time to be because you got to
Yeah.
experience great music,
In
great
the
bass
80s.
music
Yeah.
in the '80s, the bass music in the '70s,
Right.
the rise of synth pop in the '80s, which
Mhm.
I still can't let go.
Me too. I listened to almost exclusively 80s pop and 90s country.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let us hop into the thick of it. Let's get into the meat and bones of this
All
episode.
right.
All right. Well, obviously, as we talked about, it's the Ruffle Kerfuffle. Uh, there is a switcheroo, so to speak, for Alexander Hamilton and Isaac's Higgintooth's Ruffle, because
Right.
that is the rage to have in that era is the big Ruffle, and he
Yeah.
ordered it at the haberdashery. Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Yes, the haberdashery. He got it at the
Yeah.
haberdashery, ordered it, was ready to get it, and then he runs into Hamilton, and then Hamilton leaves, and Isaac can't get his Ruffle. So he's pissed off, and then we get the why he can't stand Hamilton so much from his perspective, which I thought was fascinating. And we also get a bonus. The B plot in this episode was the
Mhm.
return of the evil husband,
Yes.
Elias Woodstone, the robber baron himself that would probably be in Trump's cabinet right now.
You're right. I forgot
Firing
about
people
that.
left and right. Um,
Absolutely.
Played by Matt Walsh.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Hey, I got a great deal. If you sign a contract and just need one more soul, you can come to hell and serve.
Mhm.
Just live with me down there, and you'll won't be too bad in the
Yeah. In
financial,
management.
yeah, and management." I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
And he tries to entice Thor, and we'll
Mm.
get into that little
Yeah.
surprise at the end in the wrap.
Yeah.
But all right, tell me, what were your thoughts? How was Did this play out the way you expected it to play out?
No. I
Oh,
re I really didn't have a reason going into it of why he was so jealous of Hamilton or their equal rivalry in
mhm,
Isaac's mind. So I didn't really have any preconceived ideas of what the reason would be.
mhm.
So I was pleasantly surprised because they always come off with the something fun twist than what you would think of
Right.
why something was going on. Joe and Joe, the two Joes who run the show and the writers, they are really talented with coming up with that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, they really are. And
Mhm.
what got me was when Isaac was like, "Oh, there's a monogram in mine. I think you took mine,
Mm,
and I want to get that." And he just wouldn't let it go, and he just
yeah.
kept on. And he ended up getting kicked out. But his little line of, "I just want to have my pursuit of happiness." And then I was like, "Oh wow, that's just like the independent," not realizing, oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll all come together. And then Pete tells him, "Oh wait a minute, there was something you said in
Yeah.
your piece that,
Yeah.
I want you to know you left a moment." He goes, "Oh, I did." And then you're thinking he's like humbled. And then he's just like puff chest. "Yes, I did. Let me
Yes.
tell everyone,
Yes.
everyone." He's just like,
Yes.
forget it. He
That's
went right back to Isaac.
that's one of the things I love about the show is a lot of times they'll have a comedy and then they will end it with something heartwarming
Right.
and then it'll flip.
Right. I'll go right
Like
back to, yeah.
like in Alberta's fan in the first season,
Yeah.
you know,
Good episode.
Daddy would be pleased, and then she goes off into her, you know, me thing and her little tirade,
Yeah.
Bessie who, uh, anyhow,
Mhm.
but yeah, they do that little flip. Oh, it's so sweet, and then the ego
Right
comes
back.
back into it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, their
yeah,
ego and probably the reason why they haven't moved on comes right back.
mhm. Yeah. Many reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What got me in this episode was Elias pushing so hard to get Thorfinn, and like I feel like he
Mhm.
targeted Thorfinn,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
because of Viking raping and pillaging. But it was a different
Yes.
mentality. It was different times.
Mhm.
You got to give it the time, Elias.
And he's not the sharpest tool in his Viking box.
Right. That is
Yeah.
very true. That is
I
very true.
really liked that part of it, the B story.
Mhm.
I loved how Trevor came to his defense, like he slid right in front of him to stop him.
Yeah.
And I really love Trevor.
Mhm.
And I liked how he is slowly becoming like he's taking care of them a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a flip, like he's manipulative at some points, and he's
Hmm.
trying to he and Hetty are kind of doing this super friends
Yeah.
thing, but at the same time, I feel like,
He's sweet.
yeah, he's a very sweet guy. Like even
Yeah.
when they had his sub-focused episode,
Mhm.
when they had the hazing that they were doing to the other
Mm.
Stark
Yeah.
guys, and oh, you got to run with no pants on, you got to go whatever, and then he gave the guy his pants,
Right.
and I was like, oh wow, and he set it up, so I was like, wow, and then but again at the end it flips back and he's like, "Yeah, T money," you know. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh." So it ends up
Yeah.
going right back to that same
Yeah.
even Flowers last week, but like Flower,
Mhm.
you think it's this ditzy character, but when she figured it all out, she went in
Yes,
on
that
the
was a good part.
and
Yeah.
then you're thinking, "Oh wow, she really got him," and then she goes,
Mhm.
"What were you doing?" And she just kind
Right.
of goes right back into the
Yeah.
furry.
I thought last season when she was off on maternity leave,
Yes.
I didn't think I would miss her as much as I did. And it
Yeah.
threw things off in the balance of the show, even though it's always been more males. But
Mhm.
still, for some reason, that one lack of feminine energy made a difference to me.
Yeah.
It just felt a little off. So season three was completely off, in my opinion. But I don't know if you
Oh.
want to get into that
No, it's
or
fine.
not.
This is a podcast. We
Mm,
have no rules. We're not
yeah.
run by this is not a Paramount show. This is just me, baby.
Well, they had the writer's strike and the actor's strike.
Right.
And so there were, less episodes. So I kind of felt, whether I'm right or wrong, that maybe things were kind of rushed in the writer's room to
Mhm.
get at least get well, I think there was 10 episodes that season
Right.
in there. So I thought some things were a little off, like in the Halloween episode, which I loved for the most part, but there were a couple things in it I didn't like. Sam, she
Mhm.
has never been mean to anyone.
Yes.
And in that episode, oh, Carol, she's the worst. She's the worst. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so out of character.
Yeah.
I hated that. And they seem like the ghosts were a little bit more meaner to each other in season three.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always, ragging on each other like family does.
Right.
But that episode for me was a little too, or that season, I think they had a little too much. The getting on each other was a little bit too mean, I thought. I
Yeah.
didn't care for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were a
I
little overly mean to Todd.
yeah. No Todd,
And
no pod.
Alberta's descendant episode, the last time we see Todd, I love that episode. It's one of my favorites, except for where they are really ragging on Todd for no reason.
Yeah.
When they're having the dinner, I just thought some of that was a little too mean.
Yeah.
But season four is kind of went back on that, and I'm happy with that tone of season four so far.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate when they have the comedy as the main key to everything.
Oh yeah.
But, you have your jokes and everything, but you also
Hmm.
have your, like, poignant moments and
Hmm.
um, what is it? Your message when they have,
Right.
like, that underlying message they're trying to convey, and I feel like, that's one of the reasons why I like this. So
Hmm.
you're almost like getting a learning experience through these ghosts and
Right.
Sam and Jay. But,
Yes.
one of the things as we're in the thick of it that am always entertained, and I brought this up last week with, Anita who was on, is the, um, the moments where Jay has to sit in silence as the ghosts are explaining things and
Yeah.
Sam has to like relay it.
Yeah.
It must drive him
I
crazy,
I couldn't imagine.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like at first you're like, oh, she's just crazy. Like the
Mhm.
way it's portrayed is done so well, and he went
Yes.
all
Yeah.
in on it. So
Yeah. Yeah. You have to, as an actor, you have to believe, no matter how outrageous what you're doing, in order
mhm.
for it to come across as authentic.
Yeah.
Which one thing I didn't that kind of upset me was in the first season, you had Pete's wife,
Hmm.
and they go through all the reasons what happened there, and Pete forgave Carol.
Right.
It was probably one of the best episodes of the series. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Melanie, who was also obsessed as we are,
Hmm.
and it kind of ruined Carol when she died. It kind of ruined Pete's wife for me and for my friend Melanie, because he forgave Carol, and it was a very sweet moment. But you go into season three again, and to me, there was that forgiveness was gone. The tone of how he forgave her, it just felt like it was a little more loosely written than the heartwarming of the first season, if
Yeah, that's
that
a good
makes
point.
sense.
No, that does make sense. That's a very good valid point because even in the Good Ghost Fellas, the last week's
Mhm,
episode, the
mhm.
way that, Carol Sinus kinda saves the day
Yes.
in that episode, there was still that animosity, like, he
Mhm,
no longer forgave her, like, it was kind of, like,
mhm.
put to bed, the thing with J
Yeah.
his best
That
friend and her.
that goes along with season 3, that I just felt was off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, what was the other point I wanted to make? Oh, the next episode, where Carol tries to teach him how to cheat.
Mm.
I hate that episode.
Oh,
I hate it.
wow.
And there's some good elements in it, of course, but I didn't like that how they had her teaching him how to cheat, because again, that goes back to the first season
Yeah.
of Pete's wife, and that's one of the episodes I may skip when I'm going in order, but
Right.
I try to watch every one of them.
Yeah.
Um, oh, one thing I wanted to bring up, because before I forget, because I have a
Mhm.
tendency to forget things.
It's all right. We all do.
um, since I watch the show so often, I don't know how often you watch
Pretty often.
episodes, but I start looking for things in the background,
Mm.
and the actors are always still doing something, even if they are not the focus of that particular scene.
Right.
And actually, I had a couple tweets with a couple of the actors that they answered regarding
Good.
that.
Wow.
And but the thing that I want to point out was I start watching on the cuts, the editing, because you have to do many takes to get the take, the one per actor's reaction to that, and then they have to redo it to get the other actors are in the background,
Mhm.
however they are maybe doing it. A lot of times I think they redo scenes because they change it because the actor thought of something new, or the director. So if you look, sometimes the editing in the background doesn't match
Mm.
up. Like in
Yeah.
the episode where Bela and what's his name? Her boyfriend. That went
Um,
blank.
the boyfriend that
Bela's boyfriend. Yes,
yeah.
that. Anyhow,
Mhm.
um, when that episode is, there's a couple moments, and
Oh, yeah,
let me
yeah, yeah,
guess,
because he was
they're
like, "Oh, I
using
can see ghosts now."
yeah,
That guy. Yeah, 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 I
yeah,
remember that, yeah.
yeah, and a lot of the background issues I see is sometimes a lot of is with Trevor. Um, when they're doing one take of Jay, or seeing his, and you can see Trevor in the background. And if you specifically watch that, his reaction to what's being saying doesn't match when they flip it and do a long shot.
Ooh.
Yeah, so watch that
I'll
episode.
watch that one again, yeah.
He sees ghosts, I think it's called, in the fourth
Yeah.
season, the third season.
3rd season, yeah, I
And
remember that.
one part, because he's like, "What's up with this guy?" At his, look on his face,
Mhm.
and then they flip it to a long shot of Jay with him in the background, and it looks like he's just like staring at Jay like he's in love, and then it flips back to Trevor, and he's got a mean face again. So
Oh,
it just, some of that doesn't. Again, they don't expect someone to watch. I watch at least 2 episodes every day.
yeah. Oh, wow, that's amazing that
Yeah,
you're able to do that. Eric was the name of the boyfriend.
Eric. Yes, yes.
Andrew Leeds, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I went back to see this, so now I'm gonna watch because I need to know what episode I'm in. I'm gonna watch that after we're
Yeah,
done.
yeah. There's a few of those.
Yeah. I gotta ask you, since you're a longtime fan of the show like I am, is Nigel gone?
I don't think so.
No?
I think eventually they're going to get back together.
Oh.
But I think if they did it too soon, then you have in sitcoms when people get married, a lot of times the show is no longer
Stagnates.
right, because I
Yeah.
go back to the TV series Rhoda,
Mhm.
and you probably don't remember this. It was a spinoff of Mary Tyler Moore show,
Mhm.
and Rhoda and Joe, the guy playing her boyfriend, the will they or won't they kind of thing that they could have in the 70s was very, very popular, and everyone wanted them to get married, and the ratings were really high. And then when she got married, the ratings were through the roof.
Oh.
And then they got the stagnation of the marriage. Ratings started to tank, so they got divorced. Ratings went
Mm.
back up a little bit.
Oh.
So that's what I was afraid that if they want to save that until the show is ending. I could be wrong,
Mhm.
but I think they might be end game at that point.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think they're going to suck him off in anytime soon, because
I love the
uh,
because I was
yeah,
watching it with my I'm the guardian of 2 kids. And I was
uh,
watching it with one of my, guardies, I don't know what you my cousin.
right.
And when Roberta comes out, "Oh, he ain't going down on us anytime soon." And then
The
he
first
was
time of that,
on
oh my
his
god.
tablet and he looked up
Mhm.
like, "What? Wait a minute."
The first time Alberta said that in the vault, when
Right. When he
he-
comes
uh,
when
yeah,
he whisper
and
whisper him, yeah.
she says, what do you say, We don't want to watch Pete go down on us. Nobody wants to see that. I laugh so hard at that.
That was so funny.
Mhm.
It's just perfect. You get sucked off or you
Yeah.
go down, and it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
It just goes so good with what Trevor is. You
Yeah,
know, he's a 13-year-old boy,
right.
basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the rap because we got to talk about that
Oh,
other Mr. Williams.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
This kind of
Yeah.
cultivates into the B plot coming
Hmm.
into being a larger issue because for whatever reason, there is a physical form of Elias Woodstone trying to get
Mm.
Jay's soul. And that is right after the episode wraps up. You get this, they have these little cutaway scenes
Hmm.
that they do, which I love.
Yes.
They're these really short, like kind of wrap ups. So that's
Yeah.
why the section's called the wrap.
Yeah.
But in this particular scene, like I said, they're at a restaurant and um, this guy's offering Jay a way to get his restaurant more notoriety and PR, so to speak.
Hmm.
And Jay's just about to sign it, but luckily he doesn't. And the camera pans, and all of a sudden it's Elias
I
Woodstone
know.
in
Yeah.
current clothing offering him this deal. So I'm like, whoa, how is that? So
Yeah.
I gotta know, what are your thoughts on this scene?
I thought it was genius.
Yeah,
I know online people were like, "How can he do that? How can he leave the property?" But he said it right there in the episode that he can come back as a human, demon in human form.
right,
So that allows him to go wherever he wants.
right. He's
But
not
I like the
constricted.
surprise. It's like the Christmas episode where like the tag at the end of it was Hetty and Trevor,
Mhm.
getting it on. Many people didn't see that part because they thought the episode was over. But
Right.
it's kind of like an after credits kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah,
Marvel Cinematic Universe type.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought it is typical of that show, the writing,
Mhm.
um, how they do things like that. It's great.
It's fantastic. And I think this is gonna lead to a larger implication in the show
Hmm.
later on.
Yes,
And it's
agreed.
prob yeah.
Yeah. Like when Patience, when she left, she said, "I'm going back to the others," and that was the first time that was ever referenced that she wasn't alone
Yeah. What else is out there with the
in the
others?
dirt.
Yeah. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that they haven't covered
Yeah.
that I'm sure are gonna
Yeah.
have big,
Yeah.
reveals in the next 2
Yeah.
seasons because they got renewed for 2
Or
more seasons.
2. That's kinda
Yeah.
how they did Young Sheldon, those kinds of
Really?
things like that, yeah, because it would first couple years, 1 season, and then it got renewed for 2, then at one point, I think I got renewed for 3.
Mm,
Yeah, because it was the highest rated, comedy on CBS and
right.
Paramount,
At that
and
time, yeah.
Ghost was right up t right behind it.
Yeah.
One thing
Um
I wanted to mention, not necessarily about this episode, is Joe Port, who is one of the co-creators of the show, because they had the 2 Joes,
mhm,
Joe Port and Joe
right.
Weissman. And he I'm still on Twitter, but I don't agree with anything on there. I just stay there because it's easier communication with some of the celebrities or
Right.
Joe Port, because he
Mhm.
has answered a lot of my tweets or commented or something like when I tag him in there. And I just like how responsive he and the cast members were because of Twitter with their fans and how present they were, because you'd see them answering fans tweets and all of that. And that's how I got to know a little bit of Joe. And I told you about the whole when I had my heart attack,
Yeah.
where during my recovery, I would watch the show over and over because it made me feel good and not concentrate on my heart attack and the what had come after that with the therapy and the different way of living. And
Yeah.
so I mentioned that on Twitter, and Joe, he responded to me, "I'm sorry that happened. I really appreciate your support, blah, blah, blah." And then I got a message from the CBS promotional team
Oh,
and from Viacom. And she says, "Can I message you?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And so she really appreciated my story about that, and
mhm.
said she wanted to send me a little something, and asked me what my size of shirt was. Okay, you're gonna send me a t-shirt, and which is fine. So I told her, and then like a couple weeks later, I got a big box from Viacom, which is the
Oh,
parent company,
yeah.
and it had 2 t-shirts, in it from Ghost, 2 different T-shirts, and it had a couple posters of the show, and it had a mug, and it also had a tie, like Trevor's tie, but instead of the fruit that is on the tie when you see it on screen,
Mhm.
it had the word ghosts, and you
Oh,
couldn't
that's
tell the difference.
awesome.
Yeah, so I have, those things hanging up in my
Well, and
home
you
office where I got a lot of my stuff.
oh, that's
So
awesome.
that was so awesome,
That was
and
see, that's a
yeah,
great thing about of modern social media. You have an opportunity
hmm
would have never happened before. You'd have to write in and hope they
yeah,
got the mail and,
hmm
so, I think that's
yeah,
fantastic, and it's such a special moment. I mean, I'm sorry you had to have a heart attack for that to happen, but
yeah.
and I'm super glad, and I gotta say, like I said before we started filming, that, I'm super inspired by your recovery story,
Thanks.
because, like I said, there's been a lot of health issues on my side and in my family, so
Right.
it's good to know that
Yeah,
there's another end on that, a positive.
yeah.
So,
Keep track of your high blood pressure.
yeah, yeah, I kinda had it under control, and then I went on a binge, so
It's hard.
it's
It's
hard.
hard. Yeah.
Somebody when you work right next to Banchan, you get that Korean fried chicken, it's not easy. Um,
Yeah.
one thing I gotta say before we wrap it all up is there's a little bit of good news for the Ghost cast. I follow most of them that are available to follow on Instagram the way you do on Twitter.
Mm. I follow him on there too.
Oh, okay. And Danielle Pinnacock
Yes.
won a NAACP award,
I
and
know.
she got to do an acceptance. Look how beautiful she
I
looks.
know. I watched that. It was, oh,
Oh, so good.
mm,
So good, and congratulations to her. It'd be
yes.
amazing if they even watched the show, but
You know, I get so frustrated with the Emmys. They
mm,
have never been nominated for anything,
yeah,
even
that's ridiculous.
technical awards. I
Yeah.
thought for sure the first season, but Albert Elementary
Mhm.
is the what do you call it, the cool show with the
Yeah.
Academy. And one time I tweeted about that. I said, "Well, I guess Ghost needs to get almost no audience and be on, ABC."
Oh,
And so
wow.
the Joes both like that, and they smiley emoji because I'm like,
It's
it,
true.
it, I've watched that show for about 4 or 5 episodes, and I found it pretentious.
Mm.
And it is kind of funny here and there, but the kind of sitcom Ghost is usually doesn't um,
Get the
get
accolades that it
yes,
deserves.
like
Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley in the 70s.
Right.
It was slapstick,
Mhm.
but those two ladies were excellent.
Yeah.
The comic chops up, all the way back to Lucy and nothing.
Yeah.
And Designing Women, great show, brilliant writing.
I love that
The
show. That movie's so
only
much fun.
Emmy it was nominated for at first was for hairstyling,
Oh, wow. What a
until there was a big kerfuffle in the media
oh, hey.
about Delta Burke, one of the stars, having a fight with the producers. And suddenly she got 2 Emmy nominations. But but not all show, because the Golden Girls were dominating all of the Emmys back then because it was
Yeah.
against the Dividing Women.
Yeah.
But not all good shows get recognized.
That's true.
Not all good art becomes popular.
Right. Very good. Those are really good words to live by. And for you guys, the actors, if you're watching this, we really appreciate you guys
Yes.
deserve any accolades that you do get. And we hope that you get your just desserts and
Yeah.
get the nominations that you deserve because you guys are killing it.
Who's your favorite character or your favorite characters?
Oh man, I this is one of those things where it's like, I know you're a
Changes?
Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Are you a Deep Space Nine fan by any chance?
No. I've
No.
watched it. I've watched it only once all the way through.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine's my favorite, and
Is
I
that
yeah, I
I
align
don't
these.
dislike it, but
Mhm.
it's
No,
just
it's
not.
fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own. Is Voyager your favorite
Exactly.
or TNG?
TNG,
Yeah.
but Janeway was my favorite captain though,
Oh
up
wow.
up until Pike.
Yeah, Pike's pretty dope.
Yeah,
He's
anyhow.
great. Yeah, but
So you're saying,
yeah, no, I like the duality of this show and Deep Space Nine, where you get
mhm,
an ensemble cast,
mhm.
and some of these background characters become main characters. Like
Yes.
Carol was like kind
Yeah,
of off to the side, and then she became a main.
right. They have a
And
ghost verse.
yeah, the Ghost verse. You got the sister Bella,
Mhm.
who was just like an
Oh, I love her.
yeah, and I have a feeling we're going to see more of her next season because she works
Yes.
with in the restaurant. So
Yeah. I think we
I
still
like
got
that about
8 or 9 episodes this season, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. And the
So
color of ghosts are becoming more. prom
Yeah,
with a few of them, which I
yeah,
like.
Nancy, a couple of the other guys, the
Yeah,
one that makes
I
that
like that girl. I like the other female, the heavy set with the long hair.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She had more to do in the opening of the episode,
yeah,
of the
and
opening of the restaurant.
right, that episode, yeah, because
Anyhow,
when they got to
sorry.
sit in the middle and everything. I
Yeah,
loved the ghost when the ghost, powers
ghost.
of the basement
Yeah,
ghost are giving everybody
yeah,
cholera.
yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
brilliant.
When Hetty and Trevor became ghost friends, it
Mhm,
made me think of Super Friends
me too.
because that's what he said, like a 70 cartoon. I was hoping they were going to say Super Friends power activate, like Looney
Yeah,
Tunes
missed
did.
opportunity, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Back to
Um,
your favorites.
yeah, my favorites, I love Isaac, I love Pete.
Hmm.
Pete is so sweet and innocent, but then he
Hmm.
has his moments where you kinda get some.
That wrestling thing, I
Yeah.
hated.
But then they had the wrestler guest
Yeah.
star,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago
Yeah.
when Pete went to Norway for.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the
That.
big show from
Yeah.
wrestling, so there was kinda
Yeah.
a fun little, back and forth, but yeah,
Hmm.
and Alberta, those are my favorites. I love Flower, and,
Hmm.
the thing I wanted to say, reason why I
Hmm.
like this show so much is just like Deep Space Nine, you have this ensemble cast where everybody gets their moment to shine, and you end up falling in love with everybody.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
not a weak cast member in the show.
Mm-mm. The casting director, who used to be a child actor on the show, head of the class in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Tanis Valley.
Mhm.
She and her department should have gotten an Emmy for casting because
Absolutely.
those brilliantly cast.
Yeah,
And did you
absolutely.
know that there was another actress first cast as Alberta, but it didn't
No.
work out? I don't know anything behind it, but that's all I know is because she mentioned that briefly one time in one of her videos or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing, and I'm glad it didn't work out because.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
brilliant. She's my
Danielle
favorite.
yeah, is so good, like,
Yeah.
it's just because, you get the characters that drop those one-liners that stick in your
Mhm.
head that are funny, that keep making you laugh, like, "No Todd, no pot."
Yeah. I love the when they first meet Todd and she's like, "Todd, don't make me hate my own face." That
Yeah.
just cracked me up.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well,
I think for me, oh, I'm sorry.
no, 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 go ahead.
Um, my favorites are Alberta,
Mhm.
Hetty, and Trevor. I think those
Oh.
are my three favorites. Thorfinn was up there in the first season, but the second season he kind of dropped for me
Mhm.
because he did a lot of yelling, and
Yeah.
for some reason that annoyed me. But I still
Mm.
love him. But
Yeah.
those three are my favorites.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention before we get off here is where is the Ghost merchandise? I have tweeted to
Mm.
Lionsgate, CBS, Paramount, BBC because they're all owners of it. Where are the T-shirts? Where are the mugs that aren't
Well, uh
unofficially?
come on. As a Star Trek fan, you know
Mhm.
that Paramount is famously terrible at doing merch.
Yeah,
We had
and
the
it's too expensive.
yeah, but
Yeah,
we had Moopsy, and I
yeah,
had to get a person, from friend of, our pod,
mhm, yeah.
Strange New Pod, their one of their co-hosts, she happens to be a wizard when it comes to making a plush,
Nice.
animal, and she made me
Mhm,
a Moopsy. I paid for it, but
mhm,
she did a great job, and it's like,
yeah,
why aren't they jumping on all of it? This is your
yeah.
Grogu. This
I
should
did a screenshot in the pilot of Hetty when she's downstairs and she's first meeting Sam, and she says, her exposed knees and her saucy hairdo.
Yes.
And the look on her face, I screenshotted that and I sent it to all of those entities and then the Joes. I was like, I want this on a t-shirt,
Yeah.
judging me,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
they all liked it, but nothing's ever happened with
Just because
where are the Funkos?
yeah. Not
That's
even
a very
Funkos? They don't have
funkable.
Funkos?
They have nothing official
Really?
but a mug. Go to the Paramount shop online, and I think there's a mug, and that's it.
Wow, I can't believe they don't have. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, they
it's
all the stuff
insane.
is that's crazy. I had to real time look,
Mm,
it's like, "No way, they gotta had something." Nope,
mm-mm,
that's crazy. One thing before we go, I do wanna know what yeah, no yeah, just they would make great Funko Pops, but they
mhm.
need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do if you go to Etsy, there's somebody that makes their own
Yes.
like
I bought a
like
lot of things on Etsy for different shows that don't have any merchandise.
yeah, they really need to do that.
Mhm.
So we got most of the ghosts' powers are revealed, except for Hetty.
Yes. Right. And we
So,
don't have a death revealed yet.
a
A
death?
sass. Sass. We don't know how he
Oh,
died.
that's
We just
right. We don't
know
know how Sass died.
that's the
That's a good
only.
point. Wow.
Those are the two left unknown things.
Yeah.
It's
So
like you think of.
yeah. So what do we think Hattie's ghost power is?
Well, I did read something that was very vague
Mm.
about it having to do with her being Irish.
Oh.
Now that she knows,
Oh wow. That's gonna be
it
like a
may
long
activate
play.
it.
Yeah.
It will activate it. Maybe she can eat a potato. I don't know. Something weird.
I have a craving for potatoes. You know, like
Well, it's like the whiskey when she said, "Now I have it," or whatever. The craving
yeah.
for it. And she
Yeah.
just kind of.
Yeah. Oh wow. And
Now,
now I want to know how Sass died.
the other one point I want to touch on with Hetty and Thorfinn. I love that relationship. Once she found out that he was
Was
Gordon, who,
yeah, her
and
invisible
then
friend.
he took care of her, and that's why he didn't tell her the reason that she's Irish or that she was Irish. I
Yeah.
liked that. It was unexpected.
Right. Right. They do a lot of unexpected things, like how Hetty died was unexpected because she
Yes, that I didn't guess, and I'm usually pretty good at that.
yeah, that blew my mind because that's how
Mhm.
she saved Flower.
Yes.
And it was just like that. I think that's mine of my probably my favorite episode. That and when we first meet the robber baron the first time, because it's
Yes, the
hilarious.
vault.
The
Yeah.
vault, yeah,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
two are my favorites with the no
Excellent
Todd, no
episodes.
pod.
I think
But
my favorite's Alberta's fan. The first time we meet Todd.
yeah, I have her toenail, and one day I'll clone her. It's like, oh, she's like, oh god.
And that goes into the other one I really like is Alberta's descendant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So hey, thank you, William, for joining us in
Oh, this was
2BC.
quick.
This was, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's
This is
fun.
the longest we've ever had one of
Oh,
these episodes, and it's been
oh,
great. And
yeah,
I
it's a lot of
appreciate
fun. I
you.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. You're always welcome back. The door is always
Yeah,
open.
anytime. I love talking about the show.
Awesome. Awesome. So we'll hopefully we'll see you soon. And
Okay.
this has been To Be Seen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And please go over to TikTok and follow William over on TikTok.
Tired
A
Trucker.
lot of fun. Yep, that's right. So much fun. You so much you're gonna learn from him because he's a lot of cool stuff, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. So until
Thank
next
you.
time, we will see you next week for another episode of Ghosts, and we'll shed light on it.
Bye.
Oh, that was perfect.